Hey everyone, today I was going to be talking to you about mechanics and trusting a mechanic. You need to really make sure that you can trust a guy that you have work on your vehicle and that they know what they're doing. Now, just because they are in a garage somewhere or in their backyard doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing, and just because someone at a dealership or a big shop has an ASE patch or some type of certification patch on their shoulder doesn't mean that they know what they're doing either. They need to have the experience to know what's going on with the engine. And this is another example. A guy brought this engine to me, he called me up, asked me if I wanted to buy it, said that he had a mobile mechanic come out to his house, swap the engine because it was supposedly bad. The guy said that the thing was bad, it was knocking, it had a rod bad in it. So he gave $2,500 for a salvage yard engine, paid $900 for labor, then plus antifreeze and all that stuff. He spent $3,500 at least on it. Okay, so I get the engine in, I give him $300 for a core because that's usually what I give for cores. He said he didn't care what I did with it. I said, well, I should be able to use the heads or something. But anyway, whenever I just put it in this Expedition, I just started up, sounded perfect, nothing wrong with it. You want to know what the problem was? It was this pulley right here. This right pulley was making a noise. And I'm going to show you here in a second the bearing that I pulled out of that. I know it sounds silly, but these pulleys will make it sound like there's a rod knocking. And someone that's either trying to rip you off, doesn't have the experience, they just don't think about it, or whatever is the reason, will sit there and say a rod's bad because it sounds like it's coming from inside the engine. And it's just one of these pulleys that's bad, because the vibration going through that block will make it sound like it's clacking really bad. And to you, something's majorly wrong too if you don't know any better. So I'm just trying to get the word out there. Make sure that you can trust your mechanic that you're working on, or that's working on your vehicle. And I'll show you the bearing here in just a second. Okay, so this is a bearing that came off from that engine. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but listen to it. Are you able to hear that? Now imagine if that thing was attached to the engine, running a whole lot faster with pressure from the pulley. It would making a mad amount of noise. So basically, this can be fixed really easily. You can either buy a whole pulley, or you can buy just a bearing. Here's my bag of bearings, just for the Ford pulleys. I replace them quite often, so I buy them in bulk. And I'll show you the two different ones. One of these is a better quality than the other one, but that's all that they had, so I bought them all. The one bearing was $2.59 each, and then the one that wasn't as good a quality was 90 cents each. I don't really know the difference in the quality. They're both ball bearings. I haven't had any issues with either one of them. But for 90 cents, you can change it yourself and save yourself a lot of money, especially not buying a $2,500 or $3,500 engine. So what do you need to do? If you look right down in here, you'll see some numbers on the outside of this bearing. And you can take this whole thing down to the bearing shop, and you can see that number right there. See that number? Take this down to the bearing shop, have them give you a bearing like that if you just want one. It's way cheaper than going to the local parts store too. The local parts store will normally want like $6, $8, maybe $10 for a bearing. Go to a bearing shop somewhere, get you a bearing, and it fits perfectly in there. It's the exact same bearing. So what you do is, all you gotta do is get a socket that is, if you look right here, you can see the lip. You get a socket that fits right in that lip, and then you can see that there's a little bit of space between that and the floor, but you can put you a piece of wood on top of it, get you a socket, and get you a hammer and bang that sucker out. It really doesn't take that much pressure to bang it out. And then whenever you get your new bearing, all you got to do is find a socket that's close to the same size as the outside dimensions of the bearing, which, as you can see, this one is pretty much the same diameter. You'll put the new bearing up there. It'll probably set pretty flush and center itself. You put the socket up there, and you bang that in also. Now, what you do want to make sure that that goes in nice and straight whenever you're banging it in. I find it a lot easier just take a 5-pound sledgehammer and hit this really hard once or twice and get it to jam down in there really quickly. And then just make sure that it is up against the lip there, and you'll be able to see it better whenever you take the old one out. But basically the point is that you need to be able to trust the mechanic that's working on your vehicle. And yes, if they swap out just a bearing or swap out a pulley, you'll probably have about $60–65 in it or so. But if you did it yourself, you could only have, $2 or $3 in it. I mean, $3 at the most, and then a little bit of time. You don't really have to take anything loose other than, you got to take your intake pipe off. I can normally get to them with a shroud on, but you do have to take the belt off. Whenever you take the belt off, these pulleys here, I think it's a 13mm to take the screw off on the inside. So just pop that out, put the bearing in there, and put it back on. Really, it's pretty sad that so many people are getting ripped off saying that they need new engines and they don't. Same thing with timing sets. I get engines in quite often that people say the engine's bad, it's blown, and all that's wrong with it is the timing set. So, I'll spend however much money to replace what I need to replace to make sure everything's good, and then I have a good engine to go in something else. But anyway, guys, just make sure that you know who is working on your vehicle. Don't just trust someone off the internet. Now, I myself do have some ads on the internet. That's the only place that I have some, but most of my customers are word of mouth. So, and I tell you, I stay busy just from word of mouth. I mean, right now it's like it's after 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Been here all day. Need to go home, get some rest. And it's Friday, so I'll start back up on Monday, finish putting this on together, which I usually, I didn't know if this engine was actually good or not because they said it was blown. So I left most of the stuff attached on it and just started it up for a second to make sure, because there's no point in finishing up the installation if it did have a bad knock in it or something. But now that I know that it was just the bearing in that pulley, then I'll go ahead and put everything together, and then it'll be an extra vehicle for me to drive. I might use this one as a shop vehicle, or let a family member drive it, or a buddy or something. I don't know. We'll see what I do with it. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching my video today. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.